Hello, designers and XD fans. Today, more on XD. We're gonna revisit floating action buttons and look at some simple animations and a little really helpful hack from Howard Pinsky um, about adding additional triggers, which isn't supported yet from components, but there's some cool tricks for that. And we're gonna take a quick look at processing a little video to make a simple GIF, and then we'll look at putting some video into XD with a play button so that you can at least start it. I won't go through the entire process of adding a play and a pause. Once you kind of get how to nest the movie in a component, with a play button, the pause is fairly straightforward. But up first, I wanted to revisit really quickly the idea of actually, actually both. We're gonna bonus content. We're gonna hit the Fab button twice. Once as a more menu. So normally it's traditionally you see it as the three dots or the hamburger. What I have set up here that I wanted to look at first, so I have this group that is my panel that is going to slide in. It also has the blur rectangle right with it here. And then I've created this little kind of glass sort of chevron button that sits right here on the interface. Actually, let's put it up here so that you can see it well. Um, and we're going to turn that into a slide out more or hamburger menu. So first, I'm going to select both. I have everything in place. It's not exactly in the right place right now, but I want to be able to see it when I group it and not have the over panel fall off the pasteboard. From here, I'm going to create a component. I can use the plus sign in the properties panel, or Command K is the quick one. This is going to be the chevron slider. Let's do slide out because a slide group is something else that we covered last time while we were here. All right, so we have the chevron slide out. This is our default state that we are going to set up. So number one, I need to move this blur rectangle fully off the board, and the actual panel, which is all of this stuff here. Try not to have a lot of extra groups uh, when I'm working, especially in when I'm working in demos. If I was working on my own, I would have this whole thing grouped together. It can tend to be a lot of digging. And let's say that, no, that's a good place for the slide out, I think. Okay, so here is the, keep the artboard selected. Here's my chevron slide out. Let's say that that is the default state where everything is hidden. I can just see the button. I'm going to add a new state. It's going to be new state because it's auto animate. So that we get the nice slide and not just a pop in, which would be a toggle. Open chev. Now in this state, what I want to do, let's start moving some. So I really just have to move some things around. So the chevron button, what I want to do is flip that piece, which is minus 45, so 180 around might be minus 225, and that got it. And shift arrow just once so that it's flipped around for the close and still in the open chevron. So I can close that group. My over panel now, I want to slide this panel out where it goes. Let's leave it sort of docked in there, so to speak. Um, we can hit everything but the rectangle was what I was trying to get at. So right here, let's slide that a little right so it's a little more centrally located. That looks better. Maybe I'm trying to align right to this button here. Okay, and we just need to pull out the blur so that our user is focused here. And I am not going to adjust that in anymore. Okay, that is our chevron open state. Let's put it back on default. I like to flip back and forth just to see how that works. How it's going to look open and closed, and I left that on default, which is good. So now to animate this, we want it to animate from the chevron button. So that is what we need to have selected. So now I just have that selected, and I'm gonna tap the plus to bring out the interaction. It's going to be a tap. It's gonna auto animate, and we want it to animate to open chevron. Let's do an ease out, and 0.2 would probably do it for that. All right, good. Now we can go back to the design. Wait, I think we can get there still in prototype phase. Bear with me today. It's getting close to the end of a long trip for me, so I'm just a little. So now I'm in the open chevron state, and I have the slide out. I just want the button, and in that state, I want my tap to auto animate back to the default state. It'll give me the same interaction. I can go back to the artboard, hit the default state, and let's just select the artboard, and let's take a look at our handiwork here. So click, slide out, chevron turns, and click back for close. So pretty slick, right? All right, we can leave that here. So I was uh, looking at some student work and feedback, and the student has been playing around with different presentation for a big bottom nav that has, I think, somewhere around 4 options. And what I was thinking was, why not take let's get back into design phase. Why not take the more traditional fab button idea, and I'm just arranging icons. Obviously, I'm going to align and distribute these, so I want to get all 5. What if instead of flying up, it flew out both ways, or instead of flying out vertically and having 2 or 3 options, what if it flew out horizontally and it was 2 buttons each way, left and right? So I thought we could take a look at that quickly. So I just did an align center. I want to vertically distribute. So that's going to look like that. Now what I need to do is make sure I have everything layered correctly, and that I have this plus symbol, which I believe for my student is probably going to be a home button. So it would be a home icon. I'm not going to pull one of those. However, I do want to make sure I have fill on this plus fab icon so that it'll block all of the other icons underneath. And I do have that going, so that is good. And then we have learn, the heart. So let's make sure, I want to make sure everything is lined up in my layers panel so I don't have trouble with my stacking, and then heart check and then search. Perfect. All right. So let's get these all selected again. And actually, with this, I was thinking, what if additionally there was a slide up that would change the color of that bottom to highlight the interaction. So let's say it's kind of here. That's going to need to be underneath all of the buttons. This is going to be nav backgrounds. And we'll take the border off. And for the fill, here's my black. That is my background. If we just lighten that up just a little, or given what I have going on for interface here, what I could do is give it a little orange highlight, just like that. Okay, there's everything I need to make my component. So I'm going to select all my icons plus my nav background. I'm going to make that a component with Command K. Now for my default state, what I need to move, and this component is going to be, let's get tricky. Let's call it the HNav flyer. There we go. All right, so for my default state, what I want is just the nav background. And I want to do the thing where it's right on the edge, but doesn't have any height. So technically it's 1 pixel. We can make that 0. It'll only go down to 0.5, but you won't be able to see it. So that will work. All right, that is our default state. So we go back to the components, get that selected. We're going to add a state. We want a new state so that this could be a toggle, but I want to see that slide in for the background coming up so it kind of catches your attention visually with that movement. State 2 is going to be, let's call it flyer open. And now we need to adjust. Oh, you know what? I really missed a step. Let's go back to the default state. So we need to stack the buttons. So I'm going to select all the buttons through the layers panel, which I find oh so handy. And all we have to do is, boom, line them all up center like that. So that actually is the default state that we are looking for. I'm going to select the component again, go back to flyer open as my state. I'm going to move or give the background some width, and then we'll take the button at the bottom using shift arrow key to move 10 pixels at a time. We'll take that out to 125. Actually we just need to get them out so we can get them selected, but we can do that pretty quickly here. Just make sure everything is same space from the sides, and right about there, pretty good. Let's get everything selected for icons down there. We will distribute and then make sure it stays center, if I can get that. All right, so we were, I think, off center from the start. So let's put this back center and grab everything just to make sure, and then we'll have to move on the default state to make sure. All right, there they are. Distribute. Oh, that's why. So I don't have this even for space from the edge. Now I have everything. Let's say for the purposes of our demo here, although I really don't like that. So there's, oh, it's because that one button is bigger. So what's going to be a lot easier is starting from here, making sure that we go the same amount. So let's take this out, 120, and then heart, take that out, 48, 48, so that was even. And then message is, that's as far as it can be. And the learn, we just want to see that even 38, 38. So it's not quite distributed because I have a different size button in there. We're going to call that good for our purposes here. So back to the component. Let's go to the default state. There's my open. All right, so default state, prototype. I want to animate this from the, it doesn't have to be open, the fab button. So we can do that here from the tab, auto animate, and that is going to go to, that plus already has a thing on it, so I don't want that. I want the fab right here. That is going to be tap auto animate to flyer open. Let's ease out. Point 2 absolutely works. And then we're going to go to the other state, which I know, long way around, right? So here's a nav flyer, go to flyer open. I just didn't want to fight where that was, and there it is. And we're going to get back into the fab, and from this state, we're going to tap auto animate back to the default. And that should work. Hopefully that heart that already has the extra, I didn't disturb that, so it would still work. It's set with a toggle just to fill. So let's take a look. Preview over, I left that open, so let's go back to in that proto. If I had this selected, I could put this back on default and just select the artboard, and here we go. So now it's closed, and I forgot to do the turn, but you can see when that opens, and then if I had buttons in here that were totally set up for all of them, they could go somewhere else. They could activate the search, send us out to other boards, and then my back does that. So what about fixing the little move that I forgot? That is very straightforward and very quick. So I have my nav flyer, that's my component. What I forgot to do was in the open state, take the fab and give it a 90 so that it looks like a close, except that wasn't the whole thing. What I needed. Oh no, 90 was too far. That's the problem. It's actually 45. So 45, just like that. All right, that will do it. If I go back to my HNAV selected, default, and command return for my preview, and now we can see I get the nice X instead of a plus. All right, so there we go. There's a couple ways to do more menus. Also, one kind of functioning like standard uh, flyout action button. So we are going to close this and let's move on. Up next would be some simple animations. All right, what I would like to look at first. So this is kind of an interesting one, and I'm really just kind of going to show the setup. I think we've been deep enough into components that we kind of get it. So I have these three globes here. One starts on the board, and the other two are off, but it's grouped. It's not really a component, it's just grouped. Okay, so not a component, not a component. When it goes to artboard 2, I just have everything moved, and the idea here is what I want to do if we look at this in prototype stage. This first board, the animation is a time trigger, and that really could be just 0.5, so it's not sitting there waiting. But it's an auto animate to the next board, and what that does is animate the change in position of these items since they are all layered the same, named the same from board to board. It'll animate anything that has moved, changed position. What we could do actually is take this yellow globe all on its own if I was in design phase, and let's scale that down and actually move it up, and we'll get a little more action when this actually animates. So that's animating here. Now, what I would like to happen when this finishes, when the animation finishes with the spheres, I would like it to transition over to this last artboard that is Hello World. So this would be a launch screen sort of animation, and then it would dump you to, okay, here's the beginning of, say, my coaching screens for using the app. And there would be a click continue or maybe a sign in after the hello world. We could put this board on a time transition also as an in between. So, what you can see, the idea I'm working on here is kind of frames of animation. The issue is once the animation finishes here on Artboard 2, there isn't a way to trigger by the end of an animation. What XD will handle are Lottie files for animation, and basically that's animation coded with Java. And you have these little items. So thank you to, I have to give a little shout here to Howard Pinsky, who is an Adobe Xd. He's I can't remember the technical name, so I'm not going to say it. I will put a link to this little file action thing if we go back to design, and I have that selected. You can see it's just a blank XD. It's just a little blank animation file that does nothing, but it does register as something that's playing as an animation. So really, technically, I would have that take the opacity all the way down so that you can't see it. It's here to be a trigger. So in prototype phase, I have the original play based on a time trigger, but I'm not going to use any delay. I'm just going to let it play, and it's going to play. And it will do nothing. It's acting as a timer is what it's doing. And I don't want it to wait. I want it to happen right away. Then I add another interaction to it, and that interaction says at the end of playback of this animation, I want to transition to the next board using a slide left and a little timer. So, what all of this kind of craziness, it's not so bad once you get your head wrapped around the blank timer hack move. Thank you, Howard Pinsky. I will put a link in the description to both the file and Howard's original video. It's wonderful. His animation work is superb, as well as his graphics. So what this does, everything starts automatically. You can see it plays the little animation and then boom, slides in the next screen. Um, a little weird, again, until you get your head wrapped around it. But a really cool kind of move that allows you, this wouldn't have to be startup stuff. This could be other kinds of animation things somewhere else within your prototype. All right, let's see where we're supposed to be going first. All right, processing video. So first, we're going to look at this one. So what I have set up here, these are some renders out of Xd that are simulating. I have this spacesuit model. Maybe the way it looks here, it'd be a full-size mannequin kind of situation. And I just have this time sequence for a rotate set up. And I am in prototype. So what you can see is each artboard, or what you will see, each artboard just has a very short delay and then an automatic transition, dissolve, almost no duration to it, to the next artboard. And that happens all the way through until you get to the very last frame. And then it loops all the way back to the first one. So what this allows me to do basically is record a GIF using the artboards, the screens as my frame. So when I play this, I just get this repeating, revolving spacesuit in this environment that I built in XD. What I can do with this to place it somewhere else and simulate interacting with a product in augmented reality, telling it to spin and turn, what I can do is record it here. And one thing when you're doing this move and you're not actually showing screen, make sure you keep this highlight out, totally off the board so that you don't see it in the video. So what I'm waiting for is two full spins that are a clean spin with nothing else in the way. And then I'm going to come back over and stop this. I'm not going to save this because I previously did it and just don't need it saved again. So now we have our video captured, and what we're going to do actually is put that in here. I can show you the original concept for this. So I have, starting at this board, I'm looking at a product description, like to order. This is, add to cart. So I get the plus and it goes into my cart. I'm looking at the object on a white sweep. If I want to look at it in AR, now I say, oh, yeah, I want to place it right here where the reticule is. I'm going to click on the reticule. That's going to take me into the product view screen. And then if I want to see it rotate, it's going to do this. And then I continue on with whatever interaction. So the trick to that really is getting a video movie file. XD takes an MP4 format, very important, MP4. Getting a video in here and activating it with a play button. So that's what we are going to look at as soon as, go ahead and close this down, as soon as we process through this video. So here's the recording I did earlier. You can see the little highlight up here and it just disappeared. So what I'm going to do is open this up, and yes, it would be a lot easier to go through something like Premiere Pro, After Effects to process out your video. I'm kind of using the standard Mac equipment. So that opens in QuickTime Player. And if I go to Edit Trim or Command T, that'll give me my playheads down here. And what I'm looking for is one clean start to finish where we are absolutely front, right there, no noise in the way, to one time through the cycle where he finishes right at that last movement right there. Now I'm going to trim, and if I were at the beginning, Goes from there to there. Once we get a loop, the next frame will be back at the beginning. So it'll start clean, and that is good. So what I want to do is save this, and let's open this up so I can see what I'm doing. I'm actually going to save right over that, which is this MP4. Save, replace, yes. What I would like to show you really quickly. So, and this will encode really quick. So, I want to make sure this is in the right format for XD, which needs to be MP4. So, what I'm looking for, let's go with match source medium and MPEG-4 right here. And now all I have to do to encode this is press play. It encoded just that fast and kicked out right here, I think. No, right there. Kicked out my video. So let's see actually, what was that? Something bouncing at me. All right, so let's get this in here. I'm going to go to my library, so Shift Command Y. I actually already have the video in here, so we can just use this one. I just wanted you all to see the encoding to make sure everything, just to show you all how easy it is to encode these things. Let me send, so Media Encoder freaked out. All right, here is my video. And I want that somewhere around here, but just slightly smaller. I need it to be above my playhead, and I want it just behind the buttons, just hanging off the artboard. Perfect. Now, when I start, I want to put this on no playback. Now in here in the video options, you can also trim in here. You can set the poster frame for the video itself. You can also loop playback, which I am not going to do in here for these uses, but that functionality is here. I am going to turn the video and the button into a component. So in my default state, I want this on no playback. So that's what I'm doing here. My next move, and I'm going to go back to my layers panel. My next move, number one, I want this underneath my object AR up here. And I want to mask this so it has a nice clean appearance here in the interface. So I'm just grabbing a rectangle. I'm going to go just slightly in and as close to exactly on the bottom as I can get. As is my habit, when I make a layer mask, I like to make it an obnoxious color, this one right here, so that I know as I'm looking through things, once this becomes, this is the mask shape, once this actually becomes the mask, so we're gonna select both my video and my mask, right click, create mask with shape. You can also do this over the artboard once you have everything selected. So mask with shape, boom, nice and clean in the interface, layered correctly behind my button here. The reason I do that with the color is so I know if I would select it working over the artboard, I see that fill color in here, I know that's my mask. All right, this is my video. Okay, so we are component ready. So I have my play button right here. I have my video selected. I'm going to make that a component, Command K. Let's make this the grilled cheese spinner. because that's what I named that color of spacesuit is grilled cheese. This is the default state with it not playing, not doing anything. The new state is going to be play cheese, and what I need to innovate is just putting the video on play automatically. And that is all. So I go back to my components. I'm going to put this in the default state. We're going to go into prototype. I'm going to open this back up. From the default state, I need the play button. I'm going to add my interaction on tap. It's going to be auto animate to the play cheese state. I suppose I could have looped that and made this be a pause or off or back button. Either way, and really, I'm not going to go any farther with animating the button back. I really just wanted to show how to trigger a video in here. So I'm not going to mess with the close state. One thing that does bug me, um, I do like to see something happen also with the button, and it's just this play right here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give it a little gray so I can see its grade while it's playing. Okay, and that, if I'm in here on the default, that does it. So let's take a look. So we have our demo. We're already down in our video state. I hit play and my video plays. And again, I could have looped that. I could keep going. I could turn this into a stop. So make it into a square to stop it, whatever that case might be. All right. I believe that is everything I promised all of you. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you find this helpful. Animations, video, adding sound, all that stuff. It takes a little practice. Once you get used to it, a whole world of opportunities really opens up. So get out there and play and enjoy.